Chapter 21. Hermione's Secret. Shocking business, shocking miracle. None of them died, never heard like that. By thunder, it was luck you were there, Snape. Thank you, Minister. Order of Merlin, second class, first day. Say, first class, if I can wangle it. Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Nasty cut you have got there, black work, I suppose. As a matter of fact, it was Porter Weasley and Granger, Minister. No, Black had bewitched them. I saw it immediately. A confirmed charm, to judge by their behavior. They seemed to think there was a possibility he was innocent. They weren't responsible for their action. On the other hand, their interference might have permitted Black to escape. They obviously thought they were going to catch Black single-handed. They have got away with a great deal before now. I'm afraid it's give them a rather high opinion of themselves, and of course, Potter has always been allowed an extraordinary amount of license by the headmaster. Well, Snape, Harry Potter, we have all got a bit of a blind spot where he is concerned, and yet, is it good for him to be given as so much special treatment? Personally, I try and treat him like any other student, and any other student will be suspended at the very least for leading his friends into such danger. Consider, Minister, against all school rules, after all the persecution put in place for his protection. Out of bond at night, consorting with a werewolf and a murderer, and I have reason to believe he has been visiting Hogsmeade illegally too. Well, we shall see, Snape, we shall see. The boy has undoubtedly been foolish. Harry listened with his eyes tight shut, still very groggy. The word he was hearing seemed to be travelling very slowly from his ear to his brain, so that it was difficult to understand. His limbs felt like lead, his eyelids too heavy to lift. He wanted to lie there on his comfortable bed forever. What amazed me most is the behavior of the Dementor. You have really no idea what made them retreat, Snape. No, Minister. By the time I had come around, they were heading back to their position at the entrance. Extraordinary, and yet Black and Harry and the girl, all unconscious by the time I reached them. I bound and gagged Black naturally, conjured stretchers, and brought them all straight back to the castle. There was a pause. Harry's brain seemed to be moving a little faster, and as it did, a galloping sensation grew in the pit of his stomach. He opened his eyes. Everything was slightly blurred. Somebody had removed his glasses. He was lying in the dark hospital wing. At the very end of the ward, he could make out Madame Pomfrey with her back to him, bending over a bed. Harry squinted. Ron's red hair was visible beneath Madame Pomfrey's arm. Harry moved his head over on the pillow. Instead of his right lie, Hermione, moonlight was falling across her bed. Her eyes were open too. She looked petrified, and when she saw that Harry was awake, pressed a finger on her lip, then pointed to the hospital window. It was ajar, and the voices of Cornelius Fudge and Snape were coming through it from the corridors outside. Madame Pomfrey now came, walking briskly up the dark ward to Harry's bed. He turned to look at her. She was carrying the largest block of chocolate he had ever seen in his life. It looked like a small boulder. "Are you awake?" she said brightly. He placed the chocolate on Harry's beside table and began breaking it apart with a small hammer. "How's Ron?" said Harry and Hermione together. "He'll live," said Madame Pomfrey grimly. "As for you two, you'll be staying here until I'm satisfied you or Potter. What do you think you are doing?" Harry was sitting up, putting his glasses back on and picking up his wand. "I need to see the headmaster," he said. "Potter," said Madame Pomfrey soothingly. "It is all right. They have gone back. He is locked away upstairs. The Dementor will be performing the kiss any moment now." What? Harry jumped up out of bed. Hermione had done the same, but his shout had been heard in the corridor outside. Next second, Cornelius Fudge and Snape had entered the ward. Hurry, hurry, what's this? Said Fudge, looking agitated. You should be in bed. Has he had any chocolate? He asked Madame Pomfrey anxiously. Minister, listen, Harry said. Cyrus Black is innocent. Peter Pettigrew faked his own death. We saw him tonight. You can't let Dementor do that thing to Cyrus. Fudge was shaking his head with a small smile on his face. Harry, Harry, you are very confused. You have been through a dream full orderly. Pipe that down. Now we have got everything under control. You haven't. Harry yelled. You have got the wrong man. Minister, listen please. Hermione said. She had hurried to Harry's side and was gazing imploringly into Fudge's face. I saw him too. It was Ron's rat. He's an animagus. Pettigrew, I mean, and you see, Minister, said Snape, confronted both of them. Black's done a very good job on them. We are not confused, Harry roared. Minister, Professor, said Madame Pomfrey angrily. I must insist that you leave. Potter is my patient and he should not be distressed. I am not distressed. I am trying to tell them what happened, Harry said furiously. If they had just listened. But Madame Pomfrey suddenly stuffed a large chunk of chocolate into Harry's mouth. He choked and she seized the opportunity to force him back onto the bed. Now please, Minister, these children need care. Please leave. The door opened again. It was Dumbledore. Harry swallowed his mouth full of chocolate with a great difficulty and got up again. Professor Dumbledore, Cyrus Black. For heaven's sake, Madame Pomfrey, hysterically, is this hospital wing or not? Headmaster, I must insist. My apology, Poppy. But I need a word with Mr. Potter and Miss Granger, said Dumbledore calmly. I have just been talking to Cyrus Black. I suppose he's told you the same fairy tale he has planted in Potter's mind, spat Snape. Something about a rat and Pettigrew being alive. That indeed is Black's story, said Dumbledore, surveying Snape closely through his half-moon spectacles. And does my evidence count for nothing? Sneered Snape. Peter Pettigrew was not in the shrinking shack, nor did I see any sign of him on the ground. That was because you were knocked out, Professor, said Hermione earnestly. You didn't arrive in time to hear Miss Granger. Hold your tongue. Now, Snape, said Fudge, startled. The young lady is disturbed in her mind. We must make allowance. I wouldn't like to speak to Harry and Hermione alone, said Dumbledore abruptly. Cornelius, Severus, Poppy, please leave us. Headmaster, sputtered Madame Pomfrey. They need treatment, they need rest. This cannot wait, said Dumbledore. I must insist. Madame Pomfrey pursued her lip and strode away into her office at the end of the ward. Slamming the door behind her, Fudge consulted the large gold pocket watch dangling from his waistcoat. The Dementor should have arrived by now, he said. I'll go and meet the Dementor. I'll see you upstairs. He crossed to the door and held it open for Snape. Snape hadn't moved. You surely don't believe a word of Black's story, Snape whispered, his eyes fixed on Dumbledore's face. I wish to speak to Harry and Hermione alone, Dumbledore repeated. Snape took a step toward Dumbledore. Cyrus Black showed he was capable of murder at the age of 16. He pleaded, you haven't forgotten that, Headmaster? You haven't forgotten that he once tried to kill me. My memory is as good as it ever was. Severus, said Dumbledore quietly. Snape turned on his heel and marched through the door Fudge was still holding. It closed behind them and Dumbledore turned to Harry and Hermione. They both burst into speech at the same time. Professor Black's telling the truth. We saw Pettigrew. He escaped when Professor Lupin turned into a werewolf. He's a rat. Pettigrew's front finger, he cut it off. Pettigrew's attack Ron, it wasn't Cyrus. But Dumbledore held up his hand to stem the flood of explanation. It is your turn to listen, and I beg you will not interrupt me because there is very little time, he said quietly. There is not shred of proof to support Black's story except your word. And the word of two 13-year-old wizards will not convince anybody. A street full of eyewitness swore they saw Cyrus murdering Pettigrew. I myself gave evidence to the ministry that Cyrus had been the Potter's secret keeper. Professor Lupin can tell you, Harry said, unable to stop himself. Professor Lupin is currently deep in the forest, unable to tell anyone anything. By the time he is human again, it will be too late. Cyrus will be worse than dead. I might add that werewolves are so mistreated by most of our kind that his support will count for very little, and the fact that he and Cyrus are old friends. But listen to me, Harry. It is too late. You understand me? You must see that Professor Snape's version of evidence is far more convincing than yours. He hates Cyrus, Hermione said desperately, all because of some stupid trick Cyrus played on him. Cyrus has not acted like an innocent man. The act on the Eighth Lady, entering Gryffindor's tower with a knife without Pettigrew's alive or dead. We have no chance of overturning Cyrus' evidence if you believe us. Yes, I do, said Dumbledore quickly, but I have no power to make other men see the truth or to overrule the Ministry of Magic. I stared up into the grey face and felt as though the ground beneath him were falling sharply away. He had grown used to the idea that Dumbledore could solve anything. He had expected Dumbledore to pull some amazing solution out of the air, but no, their last hope was gone. What we need, said Dumbledore slowly, and his light blue eyes moved from Harry to Hermione, is more time. But Hermione began, and then her eye became very round. Oh, now pay attention, said Dumbledore, speaking very low, very clearly. Cyrus is locked in Professor Flitwick's office on the 7th floor, 13 window from the right of the West Tower. If all goes well, you will be able to save more than one innocent life tonight. But remember this, both of you must not be seen. Miss Granger, you know the law. You know what it at stake. You must not be seen. Harry didn't have a clue what was going on. Dumbledore had turned on his wheel and looked back as he reached the door. I'm going to lock you in. It is his consulted his watch. 5 minutes to midnight. Miss Granger returned. She'll do it. Good luck. Good luck, Harry repeated as the door closed behind Dumbledore. 3 turns. What's he thinking about? What are we supposed to do? But Hermione was fumbling with the neck of her robes, pulling from beneath them very long, very fine gold chain. Harry, come here, she said urgently. Quick. Harry moved toward her, completely bewildered. She was holding the chain out. He saw a tiny sparkling hourglass hanging from it. Here, he had thrown the chain around his neck too. Ready? She said breathless. What are we doing? Harry said, completely lost. Hermione turned the hourglass over 3 times. The dark ward dissolved. Harry had the sensation that he was flying very fast backward. A blur of color and shapes rushed past him. His ears were pounding. He tried to yell but couldn't hear his own voice, and then he felt solid ground beneath his feet, and everything came into focus again. He was standing next to Hermione in the deserted entrance hall, and the stream of golden sunlight was falling across the paved floor on the open front doors. He looked wildly around at Hermione, the chain of the hourglass cutting into his neck. Hermione, what? In here, Hermione seized Harry's arm and dragged him across the hall to the door of the room closest. She opened it, pushed him inside among buckets and mops, then slammed the door behind them. What now? Hermione, what happened? We have gone back in time, Hermione whispered, lifting the chain off Harry's neck in the darkness. 3 hours back. Harry found his own leg and gave it a very hard pinch. It hurts a lot. We seemed to rule out the possibility that he was having a very bizarre dream. But listen, someone is coming. I think it might be us. Hermione had her ear pressed against the cupboard door. Who stepped across the hall? Yes, I think it's us going to down to Hagrid's. Are you telling me, Harry whispered, that we are here to this cupboard and we are out there too? Yes, said Hermione. Her ears still glued to the cupboard door. I am sure it's us. It doesn't sound like more than three people, and we are walking slowly because we are under the invisibility cloak. She broke off, still listening intently. We have gone down the front step. Hermione sat down on an unturned bucket, looking desperate, anxious, but Harry wanted a few questions answered. Where did you get the hour's glass thing? It's called a time turner, Hermione whispered, and I got it from Professor McGonagall on our first day back. I have been using it all year to get all my lessons. Professor McGonagall made me swear I wouldn't tell anyone. She had to write all sort of letters to the Ministry of Magic so I could have one. She had to tell them that I was a model student and that I had never ever used it for anything except my studies. I have been turning it back so I could do ours over again. That's now I have been doing several lessons at once, but Harry, I don't understand what Dumbledore wants us to do. Why did he tell us go back 3 hours? How's that going to help Cyrus? Harry stared at her shadowy face. There must be something that happened around. Now he wants us to change, he said slowly. What happened? We were walking down to Hagrid's 3 hours ago. This is 3 hours ago, and we were walking down to Hagrid, said Hermione. We just heard ourselves leaving. Harry frowned. He left as though he were screwing up his whole brain in concentration. Dumbledore just said we could save more than one innocent life, and then it hit him. Hermione, we are going to save Buckbeak. But how will that help Cyrus? Dumbledore said he just told us where the window is. The window is Flitwick's office where they have got Cyrus locked up. We have got to fly Buckbeak up to the window and rescue Cyrus. Cyrus can escape on Buckbeak. They can escape together. From what Harry could see of Hermione's face, she looked terrified. If we manage that without being seen, it will be a miracle. Well, we have got to try, haven't we? Said Harry. He stood up and pressed his ear against the door. Doesn't sound like anyone is there. Come on, let's go. Harry pushed open the closest door. The entrance hall was deserted as quietly and quickly as they could. They darted out of the closest and down the stone step. The shadows were already lengthening. The tops of the trees in the forbidden forest gleamed once more and golden. If anyone is looking out of the window, Hermione squeaked, looking up at the castle behind them. We'll run for it, said Harry determinedly. Straight into the forest. All right, we'll have to hide behind a tree of something and keep a lookout. Okay, but we all go around by the greenhouses, said Hermione breathlessly. We need to keep out of sight of Hagrid's front door or will see us. We must be nearly at Hagrid's by now. Still working out that she meant, Harry set off at a sprint, Hermione behind him. They tore across the vegetable garden to the greenhouse, paused for a moment behind them, then set off again fast as they could, skittering around the whomping willow, tearing toward the shelter of the forest. Safe in the shadow of the trees, Harry turned around. Second later, Hermione arrived beside him, panting. Right, she gasped. We need to speak over the Hagrids. Keep out of sight, Harry. They made their way silent through the trees, keeping to the very edge of the forest. Then, as they glimpsed the front of Hagrid's house, They heard a knock upon his door. They moved quickly behind a wide oak trunk and peered out from either side. Hagrid had appeared in his doorway, shaking and white, looking around to see who had knocked, and Harry heard his own voice. It's us. We are wearing the invisibility cloak. Let us in, and we can take it off. Ye should have come, Hagrid whispered. He stood back, then shut the door quickly. This is the weirdest thing we have ever done, Harry said fervently. Let's move along a bit, Hermione whispered. We need to take nearer to Bugby. They crept through the trees until they saw the nervous hippogriff tethered to the fence around Hagrid's pumpkin patch. Now, Harry whispered. No, said Hermione. If we steal him now, those committee people will think Hagrid set him free. We have got to wait until they have seen he had tied outside. What's going to give us about 60 seconds, said Harry. This was starting to seem impossible. At that moment, there was a crush of breaking china from inside Hagrid's cabin. That's Hagrid's breaking the milk jug. Hermione whispered, I'm going to find Scabber in a moment. Sure enough, a few minutes later, they heard Hermione shrink of surprise. Hermione and Harry suddenly, what if we just run in there and grab Pettigrew? No, said Hermione in a terrified whisper. Don't you understand? We are breaking one of the most important Wizardian law. Nobody is supposed to change time. Nobody. You heard Dumbledore. If we are seen, we had only be seen by ourselves and Hagrid. Harry, what do you think you had do if you saw yourself bursting into Hagrid's house? Said Hermione. I think I had gone mad, said Harry, or I think there was some dark magic going on. Exactly. You wouldn't understand. You might even attack yourself. Don't you see? Professor McGonagall told me what awful thing have appeared when wizards have meddled time. Lots of time they ended up killing their past or future self by mistake. Okay, said Harry, it was just an idea, I just thought. But Hermione nudged him and pointed toward the castle. Harry moved his head a few inches to get a clear view of a distant front door. Dumbledore, first the old committee member, the manicure and executioner were coming down the steps. We are about to come out, Hermione breathed, and sure enough, a moment later, Hagrid's back door opened and Harry saw himself, Ron and Hermione walking out of it. Hagrid, it was without a doubt the strongest sensation of his life, standing behind the tree and watching himself in the pumpkin patch. It's okay, Bugby. It's okay, Hagrid said to Bugby. Then he turned to Harry, Ron and Hermione. Go on, get going. Hagrid, we can't. We'll tell them what really happened. They can't kill him. Go. It's bad enough without you lot are in trouble all. Harry watched the Hermione in a pumpkin patch throw the invisibility cloak over him and Ron. Go quick. Don't listen. There was a knock of Hagrid's door. The execution party had arrived. Hagrid turned around and headed back into his cabin, leaving the back door ajar. Harry watched the grass flatten in patches all around the cabin and heard 3 pairs of feet retreating. Ron and Hermione had gone, but the Harry and Hermione behind the tree could now hear what was happening inside the cabin through the back door. Where is the beast? Came the cold voice in Manakar. Outside, Hagrid talked. Harry pulled his head out of sight as Mesner's face appeared at Hagrid's window, staring out at Bugby. They heard Fudge. We have to read all the official notice of execution, Hagrid. I'll make it quick. And then you and McNair need to sign it. McNair are supposed to listen to that procedure. Hagrid's face vanished from the window. It was now or never. Wait here, Harry whispered to Hermione. I'll do it. As Fudge's voice started again, Harry darted out from behind his tree, vaulted the fence into the pumpkin patch, and approached Bobby. It is the decision of the committee for the disposal of dangerous creatures and hippogriff Buckbeak. Thereafter all the condemned shall be executed on the 6th of June at sundown. Careful not to blink, Harry stared up into Buckbeak's fierce orange eyes once more and bored Buckbeak sank to his scaly knees and then stood up again. Harry began to fumble with a knot of rope trying to Buckbeak to the fence. Sentenced to execution by beheading to be carried out by the committee's appointment executioner Walden Macney. Come on, Buckbeak, Harry murmured. Come on, we are going to help you quietly. As witnessed below, Hagrid, you sign here. Harry threw all his weight on the rope, but Buckbeak had dug in his front feet. Well, let's get this over with, said the ready voice of the committee member from inside Hagrid's cabin. Hagrid, perhaps it will be better if you stay inside. No, I want to be with him. I don't want him to be alone. Footsteps echoed from within the cabin. Buckbeak moved. Harry hissed. Harry tugged harder on the rope around Buckbeak's neck. The hippogriff began to walk, rustling its wings irritable. They were still 10 feet away from the forest, in plain view of Hagrid's black door. One moment, please, McNair, came Dumbledore's voice. You need to sign too. The footsteps stopped. Harry leaped on the rope. Buckbeak snapped his beak and walked a little faster. Hermione's white face was sticking out from behind a tree. Harry, hurry! She mounted. Harry could still hear her Dumbledore's voice speaking from within the cabin. He gave Rose another branch. To the ruggling thought they had reached the trees. Quick, Hermione moaned, darting out from behind her tree, seizing the rope too and darting her way to make Buckbeak move faster. Harry looked over his shoulder. They were now blocked from sight. They couldn't see Hagrid's garden at all. Stop, he whispered to Hermione. They might hear us. Hagrid's back door was opened with a bang. Harry, Hermione, and Buckbeak stood quite still. Even the hippogriff seemed to be instantly silenced. Then, where is it? Said a ready voice of the committee member. Where is the beast? It was tied here, said executioner furiously. I saw it just here. How extraordinary, said Dumbledore. There was a note of amusement in his voice. Bicky, said Hagrid huskily. There was a swishing noise and the thud of an axe. The executioner seemed to having swung it into the fence in anger, and then came the hollowing, and this time they could hear Hagrid's word through his soap. Gone, gone, bless his little beak, he's gone. Must pull himself free, Bicky, you're a clever boy. Buckbeak started to strain again the rope, trying to get back to Hagrid. Harry and Hermione tightened their grip and dug their heel into the forest floor to stop him. Someone untied him. The executioner was kneeling. We should search the ground, the forest. Mancure, if Buckbeak has indeed been stolen, do you really think the thief will have led him away on the foot? Said Dumbledore, still sounding amused. Search the skies, if you will. Hagrid, I could do with a cup of tea or a large brandy. Of course, Professor, said Hagrid, who sounded weak with happiness. Come in, come in. Harry and Hermione listened closely. They heard footsteps, the soft cursing of executioner, the snap of the door, and then silence once more. Now what? Whispered Harry, looking around. We'll have to hide in there, said Hermione, who looked very shaken. We need to wait until they have gone back to the castle. Then we will wait till Steve to fly Buckbeak up to the Cyrus window. He won't be there for another couple of hours. Oh, this is going to be difficult. She looked nervously over her shoulder into the depth of the forest. The sun was setting now. We are going to have to move, said Harry, thinking hard. We have got to be able to see the whopping fellow, or we won't know what's going on. Okay, said Hermione, getting the firmer glimpse of Buckbeak's rope, but we have got to keep out of sight, Harry remembered. They moved around the edge of the forest, darkness falling thickened around them until they were hiding behind a clump of tree through which they could make out the willow. There is Ron, said Harry suddenly. A dark figure was sprinting across the lawn and shouted in calls through the still night air, "Get away from him! Get away, Scabber! Come on!" And then they saw two more figures materialize out of nowhere. Harry watched himself and Hermione chasing after Ron. Then he saw Ron drive. "Coach, get off, you shaking cat! There is Cyrus," said Harry. The great snake of dog had broken out from the root of the willow. They saw him bowl Harry over, then says, "Look, even worse from here, doesn't it?" said Harry, watching the dog pulling Ron into the root. "Ouch! Look, I just got wallowed by a tree, and so did you. This is weird." The whomping willow was cracking and lasting out of his lower branches. They could see themselves darting here and there, trying to reach the trunk, and then the tree froze. "That was Crookshank pressing the knot," said Hermione, "and there we go," Harry muttered. "We are in." The moment they disappeared, the tree began to move again. A second later, they heard footsteps quite close by the door. McNichol, Fudge, and the whole committee member were making their way up to Castle. "Right after we had gone down into the passage, did Hermione? If only Dumbledore can come in with us, McNichol and Fudge wouldn't have come too," said Harry bitterly. "I bet you anything Fudge would have told McNichol to murder Cyrus on the spot." They watched the four men climb the castle step and disappear from the view. For a few minutes the scene was deserted. Then, "Here comes Lupin," said Harry, as they saw another figure sprinting down stone steps, and clouds were obscuring the moon completely. They watched Lupin seize a broken branch from the ground and prod in, not the trunk. Then trees stopped fighting, and Lupin too disappeared into gaps in its root. If he had only grabbed the clock," said Harry, "it's just lying there." He turned to Hermione. "If I just dash out now and grabbed it, Snape's ever be able to get in, and Harry, we mustn't see." "How can you stand this?" he asked Hermione fiercely. "Just standing here and watching it happen." He hesitated. "I'm going to grab the clock." "Harry, no." Hermione seized the back of Harry's robe. Not a moment too soon. Just then they heard a burst of song. It was Hagrid making his way up to the castle, singing at the top of his voice and waving slightly as he walked. A large bottle was swinging from his hand. "See," Hermione whispered. "See what would have happened. We have got to keep out of sight. No, Buckbeak." The hippogriff was making frantic attempt to get to the Hagrid again. Harry seized his rope too, straining to hold Buckbeak back. They watched Hagrid meander swiftly up to the castle. He was gone. Buckbeak stopped fighting to get away. His head dropped sadly. Barely 2 minutes later, the castle door flew open yet again, and Snape came charging out of them, running toward the willow. Harry's face clenched as they watched Snape skid to a halt next to the tree. Looking around, he grabbed the clock and held it up. "Get your 50 shade of it," Harry sneered under his breath. Snape seized the branch Lupin had used to freeze the tree, dropped the knot, and vanished from view as he put the clock. "So that's it," said Hermione quietly. "We are all done here, and now we have just got to wait until we came back." She looked the end of Buckbeak's rope and tied it securely around the nearest tree, then sat down on the dry round arm around her knee. "Harry, there is something I don't understand. Why didn't the Dementor get Cyrus? I remember that coming, and then I think I passed out. There were so many of them." Harry sat down too. He explained what he had seen. Now, as the nearest Dementor had lowered its mouth to Harry's, a large silver something had come gloaming across the lake and forced the Dementor to retreat. Hermione's mouth was slightly open by the time Harry had finished. "But what was it?" "There is only one thing it could have been to make the Dementor go," said Harry. "A real Pinetron's, a powerful one. But who conjured it?" Harry didn't say anything. He was thinking back to the person he had seen on the other bank of the lake. He knew who he thought it had been, but how could it have been? "Didn't you see what they looked like?" said Hermione eagerly. "What is one of the teacher?" "No," said Harry. He wasn't a teacher, but it must have been a really powerful wizard to drive all those demented away. If a patron was shining so brightly, didn't it light him up? Couldn't you see? Yeah, I saw him, said Harry slowly, but maybe I imagine it wasn't thinking straight. I passed out right afterward. Who did you think it was? I think Harry swallowed, knowing how strange his was going to sound. I think it was my dad. Harry glanced up at Hermione and saw that her mouth was fully open now. She was gazing at him with a mixture of alarm and pity. Harry, your dad's well dead, she said quietly. I know that, said Harry quickly. You think you saw his ghost? I don't know. No, he looked solid, but then maybe I was seeing things, said, but from that I could see it looked like him. I have got photos of him. Hermione was still looking at him as thought, worried about his sanity. I know, it sounds crazy, said Harry flatly. He turned to look at Buckbeak, who was digging his beak into the ground, apparently searching for worm, but he wasn't really watching Buckbeak. He was thinking about his father and about father's three oldest friends, Moni, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prawns. Had all four of them been out of the ground tonight, Wormtail has reappeared this evening when everyone had thought he was dead. Was it too impossible? His father had done the same. Had he seen things across the taken? The figure had been too far away to be seen distinctly, yet he had felt sure. For a moment before he had lost consciousness, the leaves oversaid rustled faintly in a breeze. The moon drifted in and out of sight behind the shifting cloud. Hermione sat with her face turned toward the willow, waiting, and then the last, after over an hour, here we come, Hermione whispered. She and Harry got their feet. Buckbeak raised his head. They saw Lupin, Ron, and Pettigrew clambering awkwardly out of the hole in the roof. Then came Hermione, then the unconscious Snape drifting weirdly upward. Next came Harry and Black. They all began to walk toward the castle. Harry's heart was starting to beat fast. He glanced up at the sky. Any moment now, the cloud was going to move aside and show the moon. Harry, Hermione muttered as though she knew exactly what was thinking. We have got to stay put. He mustn't be seen. There is nothing we can do, so we are just going to let Pettigrew escape all over again, said Harry quietly. How do you expect to find a rat in the dark? Snapped Hermione. There is nothing we can do. We came back to help Cyrus. We are not supposed to do anything else, all right? The moon slid out from behind a cloud. They saw the tiny figure across the ground stop. Then they saw a moment. There goes Lupin, Hermione whispered. He is transforming. Hermione, said Harry suddenly. We have got to move. We mustn't. I keep telling you not to interfere. Lupin is going to run into the forest right at us. Hermione gasped. Quick, she moaned, dashing to untie Buckbeak. Quick, where are we going to go? Where are we going to hide? The Dementor will be coming any moment. Black to Hagrid. Harry said, it's empty now. Come on. They ran as fast as they could, Buckbeak cantering along behind them. They could hear the werewolf roaming behind them. As cabin was in sight, Harry skidded to the door, wrenched it open, and Hermione and Buckbeak flashed past him. Harry threw himself in after them and bolted the door. Bang, and word dark loudly. Bang, it's us, said Hermione. Harry, or scratching his ears to frighten him. That was really close, she said to Harry. Yeah. Harry was looking out of the window. It was much harder to see what was going on from here. Buckbeak seemed very happy to find himself back inside Hagrid's house. He lay down in front of the fire, folded his wings contentedly, and seemed ready for a good nap. I think I had better go outside again, you know, said Harry slowly. I can't see what's going on. We won't know when it's time. Hermione looked up. Her expression was suspicious. I'm not going to try and interfere, said Harry quickly. But If we don't see what's going on, how we are going to know when it's time to rescue Cyrus? Well, okay then, I'll wait here with Bugby. But Harry, be careful, there is a werewolf out there and the Dementor. Harry stepped outside again and edged around the cabin. He could hear yelping and in a distance. That meant the Dementor were closing in on Cyrus. He and Hermione would be running to him at moment. Harry stared out toward the lake, his heart doing a kind of double roll in his chest. However, had seen that patrons would be appearing at any moment. For a fraction of for a second, he stood irresolute in front of Hagrid's door. You must not be seen, but he didn't want to be seen. He wanted to do the seeing. He had to know, and there were the Dementors. They were emerging out of the darkness from every direction, gliding around the edge of the lake. They were moving away from where Harry stood to the opposite bank. He wouldn't have to get nearer than Harry began to turn. He had no thought in his head except his fattened father. If it was him, if it really was him, he had to know, had to find out. The lake was coming nearer and nearer, but there was no sign of anybody. The opposite bank he could see tiny glimpse of silver. His own attempt at patrons. There was a blush at the very edge of water. Harry threw himself behind it, peering desperate through the leaves on the opposite bank. The glimmer of silver were suddenly exultation, a terrified excitement shot through him. Any moment now, come on, he muttered, staring about. Where are you, Dad? Come on. But no one came. Harry raised his head to look at the circle of Dementor across the lake. One of them was lowering his hood. It was time for the rescue to appear, but no one was coming to help this time. And then it hit him. He understood. He hadn't seen his father. He had seen himself. Harry flung himself out from behind the bush and pulled out him wand expecto patronum. He yelled, and out of the end of his wand burst not a sharpless cloud of mist, but blazing, dazzling silver animal. He screwed up his eyes, trying to see what it was. It looked like a horse. It was galloping silently away from him across the black surface of the lake. He saw it lower its head and charge and the swamping dementors. Now it was glowing around the ground. The black snake on the ground and the dementors were falling back, scattering, retreating into darkness. They were gone. The patrons turned. It was cantering back toward Harry across the still surface of the water. It wasn't a horse, it wasn't a unicorn either, it was stag. It was shining brightly as the moon above. It was coming back to him. It stopped on the bank. Its hooves made no mark on the soft ground as it stared at Harry with its large silver eyes. Slowly it bowed its atrial head, and Harry realized prongs, he whispered. But as he trembling fingertips stretched toward the creature, it vanished. Harry stood there, hand still outstretched. Then, with a great leap of his heart, he heard hoofs behind him. They wheeled around and saw Hermione dashing toward him, dragging Bugsy behind her. "What did you do?" she said fiercely. "You said you were only going to keep a lookout." "I just saved all our lives," said Harry. "Get behind here, behind this bush. I'll explain." Hermione listened to what had just happened with her mouth open yet again. "Did anyone see you?" "Yes, haven't you been listening?" "I saw me, but I thought I was my dad. It's okay." "Harry, I can't believe it. You conjured up a patron that drove away all those dementors. That's very, very advanced magic." "I knew I could do it this time," said Harry, "because I have already done it." "Does that make sense?" "I don't know." Harry looked at Snape. Together they peered around the bush at the other bank. Snape had regained consciousness. He was conjuring strength and lifting the limp form of Harry, Hermione, and Black into them. A fourth stretcher, no doubt, bearing Ron was already floating at his side. Then one held out in front of him. He moved them away toward the castle. Right, it's nearer time, said Hermione tensely, looking at her watch. We have got about 45 minutes until Dumbledore locks the door to the hospital wing. We have got to rescue Cyrus and get back into the ward before anybody realizes we are missing. They waited, watching the moving clouds reflect the lake, while the bush next to them whispered in bass. Bugby Board was flirting for worms again. Do you reckon he's up there yet? Said Harry, checking his watch. He looked up at the castle and began counting the window to the right of the west tower. Look, Hermione whispered. Who's that? Somebody's coming back out of the castle. Harry stared through the darkness. The man was hurrying across the ground toward one of the entrance, something shiny glittering his McNair, said Harry. The executioner, he's gone to get the Dementor. This is it, Hermione. Hermione put her hand on Buckbeak's back and Harry gave her a leg up. Then he placed his foot on one or lower branches of the bush and climbed up in front of her. He pulled Buckbeak's rope back over his neck and tied it to the other side of his collar like reins. Ready, he whispered to Hermione. You better hold on to me. He knocked Buckbeak's side with his heel. Buckbeak soared straight into the dark air. Harry glared his flank with his knees, feeling the great wing rising powerfully beneath them. Hermione was holding Harry very tight around the waist. He could hear her muttering, Oh no, I don't like this. Oh, I really don't like this. Harry edged Buckbeak forward. They were gliding quickly toward the upper floor of the castle. Harry pulled hard on left hand side to the rope and Buckbeak turned. Harry was trying to count the windows flashing past. Oh, he said, pulling backward as hard as he could. Buckbeak slowed down and they found themselves at a stop unless you counted the fact that they kept rising up and down several feet as the hippogriff beat his wing to remain airborne. He's there, Harry said, spotting Cyrus as they rose up beside the window. He reached out and as Buckbeak's wing trail was able to tap sharply on the glass, Black looked up. Harry saw his jaw drop. He leaped from the chair, hurried to the window and tried to open it, but it was locked. Stand back, Hermione called to him, and she took out her wand, still gripping the back of Harry's robes with her left hand. Alhambra. The window sprang open. How? How? Said Black, weakly staring at Hippogriffs. Get on. There's not much time, said Harry, gripping Buckbeak firmly on either side of his sleek neck to hold him steady. You've got to get out of there. The Dementor are coming. McNair's gone to get them. Black placed a hand on either side of the window frame and heaved his head and shoulder out of it. It was very lucky he was so thin. In a second, he had managed to fling one leg over Buckbeak back and pull himself onto the hippogriff behind Hermione. Okay, Buckbeak, up, said Harry, shaking the rope up to the tower. Come on, the hippogriff gave one swing of its mighty wing and they were soaring upward again, high as the top of the west tower. Buckbeak landed with a clatter on the battlement and Harry and Hermione slid off him at once. Cyrus, you had better go quick, Harry patted. They'll reach Flitwick office any moment. They'll find out you're gone. Buckbeak pawed the ground, toasting his sharp head. What happened to the other boy, Ron? Croaked Cyrus. He's going to be okay. He's still out of with Madame Pomfrey says she'll be able to make him better quick go. But Black was still staring down at Harry. How can I ever thank go? Harry and Hermione shouted together. Black whipped Buckbeak around facing the open sky. We'll see each other again, he said. You are truly your father's son, Harry. He squeaked. Buckbeak sighed with his heel. Harry and Hermione jumped back to the enormous wing, who rose once more. The hippogriff took off into the air. He and his rider became smaller and smaller as Harry gazed after them. Where a cloud drifted across the moon. They were gone. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. Till then, see ya. Bye bye.